Well everyone, we've hit the finale. 8 years of crying, laughing and knowing nothing has led us to the final moment of the final episode of the final season of Game of Thrones, the biggest show on earth. And now, our watch has ended. It has been a ride, to say the least, and episode 6 has come at the end of a long and decidedly messy journey. But it is just as bittersweet as the showrunners promised in the grand scheme of things. I think we're all just happy that Bran got something actually useful to do at long frickin' last. And just to address the ginger in the room, those of you who watch Ups and Downs regularly might wonder why you're getting Adam Sheary instead of Adam Cleary. But much like Thrones itself, we're dedicated to throwing a spanner in the works every now and then. Let's just say I pulled an ollie on him. For the watch. Right, now that's out the way, let's get to it then, shall we? These are all of the ups and downs from Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, The Iron Throne. So this week we begin at King's Landing to see what the hell Daenerys is doing with her city full of burned up children. Yikes. After her actions in the Bells, where she slaughtered countless innocent people, there was never likely to be any coming back for her considering she has gone full Mad Queen. Her fate was sealed, her coin had landed, and she decided that fear was the only way for her to rule. Her hero's journey comes to an end in just about the most tragic way possible. As she's finally about to claim that which she has always wanted, that which she has fought and killed for, she's murdered by the man whom she loves before she even gets one arse cheek down on the damn Iron Throne. For Daenerys, it's one final betrayal in a long line of them. For Jon, it is the ultimate act of putting duty above love. It is burning desire meets an immovable sense of what's right. It is simply ice and fire. From finally seeing Dany in the throne room, to her and Jon's final exchange, to the reveal of what he's done to her when he's cradling her in his arms like Ygritte, it is a stunning sequence. With great performance from Emilia Clarke again that is befitting of being the show's biggest death. If you didn't cry at Drogon nudging his mother in the aftermath, you've got no soul. This is one giant up. And speaking of Drogon, you're damn right he burned that mother throne down. In some parallel to the One Ring in The Lord of the Rings, it is a symbol of power that many seek to hold, even if it corrupts them in the process. Little good can come of seeking it, and that is why it had to end up being destroyed. Both the ring and the throne are melted into sludge in the fires that forged them, but instead of Mount Doom, we get the fiery breath of Drogon. It's not only a stunning visual as we see the most uncomfortable seat in the world on fire, but a condemnation of what it represents, and how it led to Dany's death as it did so many before her. Another big fat up. And since we've lost a queen, someone had to fill the role of, you know, ruling the whole 7 kingdoms and sorting the mess of King's Landing out, as it is basically just dust now. Where we've all been obsessed who will sit on the Iron Throne, it is a wheelchair that serves as the ruling seat. Bran Stark is appointed as the new king of Westeros. What? You cry? The same Bran Stark we dropped for a whole season and who's been living his best creep life ever since turning into a psychic bird? Yes. That one. It might not seem so initially, but it works. It works because Bran doesn't want to rule. This isn't a completely happy ending for him. It works because he fits the theme of celebrating cripples, bastards, and broken things, as Season 1 Episode 4 so titles itself. Because Bran is the first point of view character and the first to come to George R.R. Martin's mind. Bran may or may not be a great king, but after so many rulers who wanted power from the position and abused it, it is a fitting end with a king who simply doesn't want. The wheel has been broken. It gets a big up. With a new king, there is also a new small council, and it's made up of some of the biggest fan favourites in the entire series. There's Davos as Master of Ships, Bronn as Master of Coin, Brienne as Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, Sam as Grand Maester, and Tyrion back as the Hand of the King. It is a great, if entirely bizarre, collection, and it'd honestly be some next comedy series trying to see them rule the kingdoms. Big up just for the banter. Bran and his council are going to have an easier time than most when it comes to the 7 kingdoms though. It is actually 6, since Sansa has stepped the f*** up and taken a slice of the throne's pie all for her own. Yes! Yes! After being a no-show in the Bells, she returns in full sassy form this episode. Sit down, Edmure, you pleb. When she's not immediately telling everyone that her brother's dick doesn't work, she is focused on the one thing she's cared about above all else for the past couple of seasons. The North. There must always be a Stark in Winterfell, and none of them deserve to rule the North more than Sansa. Not only because of everything she's been through, but because she's one of the best rulers around, who understands her people deeply and knows what is best for them. As she walks through the Great Hall of Winterfell, taking her place as ruler of an independent North, it is the kind of scene to make your heart soar. This is all I've ever wanted. Thank you, Game of Thrones. Thank you. This is an up. Times 1 million. Times 3 million. It's all of the ups. As for the rest of the Starks, Arya has reclaimed her name and is off to go exploring, throwing us back to season 6 when she told Lady Crane that all she wanted to see was west of Westeros. She's now finally setting off on that journey. Although she swore vengeance upon Argon, she's turned away from that path because she knows where it leads, and what's more, she now knows who she is. She couldn't simply settle into being a lady because she's been there and done that with banging Gendry. Ultimately, her story always had to take her away from Westeros yet again. She's embracing her newfound freedom from the shackles of vengeance. The direwolf sigil and thus her family is with her. We don't know what lies beyond Westeros, and we may never find out. But as Arya sails off across the sunset sea, there is at least a glimmer of hope. Up. Then finally, Jon Snow, aka Aegon Targaryen, the rightful ruler of the Seven Kingdoms, and now a Queenslayer, and someone who was never going to accept the throne anyway. With Dany dead at his hands, it definitely wasn't going to be an option either. Whilst his sisters want him pardoned and Grey Worm wants him dead, Bran finds something of a compromise. Jon must take the Black and return to the Night's Watch. Yes, it apparently still exists because the realms of men still need protecting from Grumpkins and Snarks, I guess. This is where Jon belongs. He's a true northerner. He's much more a Stark than a Targaryen. But he is an outsider too, a bastard, the White Wolf, and he belongs beyond the Wall as much as Ghost does. It's the one place he seemed truly happy and himself, so it is fitting that he goes back there. That's what we see in his final moments, including that brilliant scene when he finally reunited with Ghost and finally pets him like the good boy that he is. This isn't up just for that dog stroke, to be honest. Well, I have definitely been on one with the up, so let's take a moment to step back and dig into the not so fantastic bits here. One of the fan theories to really take hold in recent years is the idea that the series will end with Samwell Tarly writing the story of Game of Thrones and calling it A Song of Ice and Fire. Again, it is very Lord of the Rings, and thankfully the show doesn't quite go that far with it because that would have been terrible. But it does go halfway. Back in season 7, we learned that the Archmaester was writing a chronicle of the wars following the death of King Robert I, with Sam dismissing the title. Now we learn that the book is finished and Sam has helped name it A Song of Ice and Fire. It's minor in the grand scheme of things, but it is way too meta and more than a little cringeworthy. I personally think it's quite funny, but that is definitely a bad thing, so down. And it is not just the meta commentary that falls a little flat. This finale had so much to wrap up that it was always going to be difficult to balance absolutely everything. That means that certain characters do end up being a little more shortchanged than others. Davos, whilst humorous, gets very little to do. Gendry returns to say a single word, but does get some dapper new threads. The Dothraki disappear, the new Prince of Dawn doesn't even get a name, Robb and Arryn is there. Grey Worm in particular would have been an excellent arc to flesh out since he goes from murder in the street to leaving for North as soon as his queen dies. Then again, this plays into there not being enough episodes more than it does become a problem with this one in particular. One of the big problems with season 7 and 8 has been with the pacing, with the shortened episode run meaning certain things have happened too quickly, and the finale is no exception to that. It's a minor annoyance and ultimately it's fine, really. The big stuff is as well executed as possible and the show was never going to find the time for everyone. Still, another down in the mix. Moving into more broad comments then, the one thing we've long known about Game of Thrones' ending is that it was going to be bittersweet. This was never going to be a completely happy story, but nor was it going to simply be a case of everyone dies, lol. For that to work, the finale needed to be a real emotion wrangler. And thankfully it absolutely nails all of the deeper beats. From Tyrion finding his family to Dany's demise, it is all exceptionally tight. The final farewell between the Starks, which is beautifully played, is especially poignant. Jon's farewell to each of them is loving, moving, and definitely makes it not weird to be tearing up because these Starks have been through so much. And whilst they're all separated once again, just like they were at the beginning, at least this time it is with much brighter futures ahead of them. Up. Very up. Emotional. While the writing of this season has been in question, the rest of the production hasn't. And the Iron Throne provides one last, perfect example of so much of what this series does on a level that so few have matched. The score once more elevates just about everything around it, including that take on the theme tune in the final moments, which is whew. The costume design, especially in Sansa's coronation, is simply stunning. The special effects work on Drogon is spectacular, the sets are great, including the rubble of the Red Keep and helping maintain the horrors of the war element that's seeded throughout. Special mention must go to the cinematography above all else this week, which was yet again breathtakingly good. Moments like Jon holding Dany with the Iron Throne in the background, or the overhead shot of Tyrion finding his siblings, they just look gorgeous and fit the themes of the episode perfectly. And that shot of Drogon's wings coming up behind Dany is just Chef's kiss, but less creepy. Finally though, people have spent years theorising how Game of Thrones would end. It's a Herculean, almost impossible task to bring this story to a close, where so many people are so invested but have completely different takes on what they want to happen or should go down. It was never going to please everyone. Still, there are various ways this could have gone wrong, and instead, they stick the landing. There is a great sense of things coming full circle once again. Long-standing character arcs are paid off, there are surprises, but they serve the story rather than offering shock value. And it all comes down to the Starks, as it really had to. They're the family that started all of this. It's their story above all of the other houses. To focus so closely on Sansa, Arya and Jon in the final moments and to do them all a justice was a perfect choice. God bless this show for all that it has done for television. One last whopping up. Right everyone, that is it. That is the last of our ups and downs for Game of Thrones ever. It has been one crazy journey, so thank you all so much for joining us on it, and let us know what you think in the comments section below. I've been Ash, this has been What Culture, and I'm going to have a bit of a cry now and cool off from this very sweaty and warm cape that has been all over the place.